Hello, everybody. Welcome to the lecture on the Roaring Twenties. World War One minute time, what it all for Great War, um, great horrific time, but um, lives lost. Um, that was devastating, but war's over and we're on the side of the victor. Um, so we're going to today about we're going to say about uh, with that said, obviously some good and obviously some bad, but overly forward. This would be the era of technology, wealth, and growth of our country. So, if you guys have ever seen the movie The Great Gatsby, it came out in I don't know the early 2000s, I believe. This movie really encompasses what it was like to live during the 20s. And we'll talk about over the course of the unit. So here, I'll play this little scene for you. Um, the lands, the cities were built up, skyscrapers, cars, airplanes. We'll learn about this, the speakeasies, the bars of the 20s. We'll talk about why they did it this way over the course of the unit. Knock on the door, wall, you walk in, you see what. Look at all the partying going on, commission the police, jazz club, music, alcohol. Notice the role of the women and how it might be different compared to prior. All right. So again, that was a little, teaser, what life was like in the 20s. All right. So, if you guys are obviously you're in Google Classroom, let's see here. So, what you're going to do now, if you look at your Google Classroom sheet, is you're going to be doing a scavenger hunt on the 20s. So here's the Roaring 20 scavenger hunt sheet, the doc. So I'm going to open it up right here. This is what it should look like. I'm going to read through this together with you guys, so please just follow along and engage with what we're doing. I'm just going to read this to you guys. The Roaring 20s. There has never been a decade quite like the 1920s. Americans were anxious to put World War I behind them and live life to its fullest. Our newly elected president, Warren G. Harding of Ohio, proclaimed that we would have a return to normalcy. But the Roaring Twenties were anything but normal. In terms of entertainment, Charlie Chaplin and silent movies gave way to movies with sound. So I'm gonna stop there. So then in the 1920s, you start seeing talking movies, so as of what we know today. You ain't heard nothing yet, Al Jolson said in The Jazz Singer in 1927, and the era of the talking movies began. So too did the first cartoons begin with the character named Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. Babe Ruth, known as the Sultan of Swat, the Great Bambino, the King of Swing, made the New York Yankees the best baseball team in the U.S. Jack Dempsey boxed his way to the heavyweight title. Nuke Rockne won one for the Gipper. But the greatest hero of them all was Lucky Lindy Charles Lindbergh, who flew the Spirit of St. Louis solo across the Atlantic Ocean, the first person ever achieved this miraculous feat. In the 1920s, people danced to Charleston and listened to the toe-tapping, finger-snapping, jazz, music that defined the era. Black Americans took pride in the poetry and music of the Harlem Renaissance. Some women became liberated as flappers. These were women who wore short skirts, beads, and feathers. They also smoked, drank, and were rather promiscuous. Thanks to the 19th Amendment, women could vote, and thanks to Margaret Sanger, they had access to birth control as well. The 1920s were also a time of prohibition, when it was illegal to make, transport, or sell alcohol. The failure of the noble experiment was evident by the sprouting of speakeasies and bootleggers throughout northern cities, while even President Harding kept a cabinet stocked with liquor. Organized crime soared, led by gangsters like Lucky Luciano and Scarface El Capone. Of course, it was not all fun and games, as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre revealed. In politics, the Republican business doctrine ruled the day. All the presidents were Republicans during the 20s, and all cut taxes and limited government regulation. Keep that in mind. Spoiler alert for our next unit. Unions and farmers suffered, but the number of millionaires soared to over 11,000. No business thrived more than the automobile industry led by Henry Ford and his affordable Model T car. The American economy soon became known as the eighth wonder of the world. In foreign policy, Americans retreated into a time of semi-isolationism. Working outside the League of Nations, the U.S. sought to avoid war through the Washington Naval Conference and the infamous Dawes Plan. On a negative note, the decade saw intolerance and prejudice grow. Thanks to the Red Scare, nativism rose to an all-time heights, and quota laws were made to restrict immigration. Two atheists, anarchists, draft-dodging immigrants named Sacco and Vanzetti went to the electric chair for a crime they may or may not have committed. The KKK rose in the Midwest and targeted Catholics, Jewish people, and blacks. Fundamentalist Christians tried to block the teaching of evolution in schools, leading to the famous monkey trial. Finally, the decade ended on a rather sour note when the stock market crashed in 1929 and the greatest economic catastrophe in American history began. Still, what a decade it was, and forever will be in our memories. A true golden era. Yeah. All right, so here's a little scavenger hunt that you guys are going to be working on. As you guys can see, jazz is a blend of what? The blank there. The trumpet player was part of the King Oliver's Creole Jazz Band. So you see all these terms here, these things that you need to look for. Now, where are you going to find that at? You're going to find that, again, if you look in Google Classroom, you'll see a scavenger hunt reading packet, PDF. You guys can look at that. Let's see here. So here, just look like this. You're going to read through the packet. So this all goes right in order, guys. So if you start off here, boom, the Jazz Age, you'll kind of read through some of this. Make sure you guys are reading the captions as well. And you're going to use this packet to fill in your answers. Pretty simple. All right, so that's the scavenger hunt. Once you guys do that, please make sure you guys submit this in Google Classroom. Make sure you guys attach the document. All right, so what do you do after the scavenger hunt? I'm going to look at my thing here. Scavenger hunt complete. Listen to the Consumerism 1920s video lecture below. Copy the notes into your 1920s guided notes. So when you guys are done with the scavenger hunt, ask me for a copy of the guided notes. If you guys look, you'll see 1920s Day 1 lecture. It's 14 minutes, and you're going to fill in the guided notes for that. Now, what do you do when you're done with that? You guys, depending on how fast you work, and you'll have today and tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, to work on this, you can begin working on your 1920s project. So you see this, there should be a document on your guys' page here, where you'll see 1920s project, and I'll explain this to you, just like so. All right, so here's your, so again, guys, there are so many cool things with the 20s, so many awesome things, and unfortunately, we don't have time to go over every little key aspect, key person that played a huge role in the 20s. We just don't have the time for that. I wish we did. I could spend a month on the 20s. I love it. So this project will allow you guys an opportunity to kind of do some digging on your own and, hopefully build some, a passion and a love for history as I do. So here's expectations. As we have been learning, the Roaring Twenties was a very exciting time. Whether it was the new social changes, rebellious fashion, music, dance, or the newfangled technology, Americans' lives would be forever changed. In this class, there's only so much we can cover. This project will allow you the opportunity to dive deeper into a topic of your choice. You will research a 1920s topic that interests you. You will have one day to work on this in the computer lab or in class. I'll find some time sparingly, but you're going to need to work on this outside of the class as well on this. So here's your instructions. First step is to pick a topic. So again, there's Al Capone. You can focus on the cars of his. There's a really cool story about the car for him on his own personal car. The weapons, you can about Alcatraz. You can talk about Al Capone, just the man and the gangster. So you can do a poster on that, or I'm sorry, do a PowerPoint on that. You can do one on 1920s movies. Again, I'll have examples of these in class for you guys to look at. So you won't go in blind. You'll be able to kind of see some examples of some different posters that I have. You can do 1920s movies. You can do Henry Ford. If you're a car person, you can look into Henry Ford. You can do the radio. The 1920s was the invention of the radio. The radio was huge. You can do that. You can do just jazz in general. You can talk about history of jazz. You can talk about Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway. You can pick another jazz artist that you might know from the 20s and do it on that. You can do art and artists of the 20s. That's fine. You can do, if you like baseball, there's the famous Black Sox scandal. Big baseball scandal during the 20s. You can do that. You can do heroes of American aviation. You can do Charles Lindbergh. Obviously, very interesting story with him. Amelia Earhart's really awesome. It's actually still a mystery today in terms of how she disappeared. We can do some research on her. You can do Babe Ruth. Again, if you're a baseball fan, do a project on him. You can do other athletes. There's Jim Thorpe. You can do the Four Horsemen of Notre Dame. Gangster boss of the 20s, Lucky Luciano. I mean, you could look up other gangsters of the 20s you can do a project on. St. Valentine's Day Massacre. You can do the Scopes trial. You can do women, the fashion, flappers. I've had former students before do Coco Chanel. So you can do history of Disney and Mickey Mouse. If you see something that's not on this list, you can pick something different. Just let me know. Say, hey, Myers, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Just let me know what you're thinking. What do you need to do? While researching the topic, be looking for interesting facts about how this made the 1920s so roaring. So who is the event person? Information about the person event. Interesting details, legacy or impact of American culture. So what we need to do is create a PowerPoint or a Prezi. I actually have that made for you. I'll show you here in a minute. So here are your requirements. Choose an event person from the list above, or you can pick a topic that's not on the list. If you choose something that's on the list, please ask myself for permission. 5 or more photos in the PowerPoint. So throughout your PowerPoint, you need at least 5 photos, at least. You could use more. 10 bullet point facts about your person event. You need to have, so this is what you need to have in those basic information about them, fun facts, accomplishments, make this interesting fun. And here's the most important part. Explain how your event impacted the 1920s and changed positively or negatively American society in a paragraph. That's important. So here's your PowerPoints, what it should look like in order in terms of what your thing should be labeled as. This is worth 50 points. So I'm going to show you guys really quick, kind of going back just really quickly. Let's see, schedule. I have a project thing on here for you guys to look at. I have a kind of copy of this. It's right in the 1920s. You see today's date, and there's a project, and here's the PowerPoint. These are all going to need to use. So notice it's all labeled for you as well. Topic, student name, make sure you put your topic name on here, picture, biographical information, fun facts, information about the careers, 10 facts, could use more than one slide if you need to, accomplishment slide, and then how do they impact, this should be your paragraph. All right, so that being said, if you finish early and you've got through all your tasks, because everybody's going to be working on something a little bit different because of the snow day, you guys can start working on your project, start doing your research. Other than that, you guys are good to go. Hope all is well. Let me know if you have any questions. Me and Mr. Carmel will be in class. All right, toodles.